Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to a new video. I have been slow to put out the videos this month because I have been slow to watch things this month. Midnight Mass took me a whole week, and I ended up seeing Lamb this past weekend as well as Halloween Kills, so expect that review coming soon too. But for today, let's talk about Lamb, you guys. So you may or may not have seen my trailer reaction a couple months back when the trailer initially released by A24, and everybody was very interested in what this movie could be because in the trailer there are moments of happiness, there are moments that seem pretty disturbing, and the movie just seems like something that could turn very dark. Unfortunately, this was a case when the trailer didn't do the movie very good. So because of the way the trailer was set up, I thought that a lot more was going to come out of this movie. A lot more was going to happen. There would be a lot more of a story there. And in reality, this movie is very, very slow. There isn't a lot of dialogue at all. It's very quiet. And there are a lot of lingering shots that don't amount to anything. This isn't like The Witch where you get that big payoff at the end and things go from 0 to 100. If you thought The Witch was subtle in terms of horror, this has even less horror elements. In fact, I wouldn't even call it a horror. The only reason I want to call it a horror is because there are a couple of scenes in it that do kind of fit into the horror genre, but besides that, it is definitely, I don't even want to call it a family drama because there isn't enough dialogue there. It is more like a silent family drama. I hesitate to even say that because when you look back at Hereditary, there were people saying this isn't a horror movie, this is a family drama. When you look back at Midsommar, people were saying this isn't scary, this is disturbing. The Witch, this isn't scary, this is disturbing. Okay, when I'm talking about Lamb here, it makes all those movies look like full-on horror movies, and yes, in my head, they already were full-on horror movies to begin with. So Lamb did not leave me feeling any type of way. I was not emotionally impacted by this movie. I'm not saying that you need to be emotionally impacted for a movie to be effective, but the type of movie that this was, it seemed like it needed to leave some kind of emotional impact in order to be effective, and for me, I just wasn't left feeling very strongly about anything. In fact, I was left wanting more, and not in a good way. I've got my tea now, but it's gotta cool off for a second. So I'm thinking about this and I realized I understand what the filmmakers were going for, but in this particular case I almost feel like it would have been more effective if they just kept the film completely silent or made it as a short story, maybe a silent short story, rather than a full-length drawn-out feature film. If they were going to go the minimalistic route, they should have kept it more silent, I would say. In fact, a completely silent film, that would just be unnerving with the plot of this movie. And then if not, I think they should have fleshed it out more and created more of a story. This film does have its positives. There's a lot of creativity to it. The acting is well done. The dialogue that is spoken is minimalistic but still well done. I felt like most of the film, most of the important parts of the film were shown in the trailer. You're not going to get much more than that. And that's the part that probably ruined a lot of the film for me, is having seen the trailer. It would have been impossible for me to avoid because this trailer was playing in the theaters, it was playing on YouTube, it was just advertised all over the place, so I wouldn't have been able to avoid the trailer. But let's say I had been able to avoid it, I had no idea what this film was, maybe it would have added more of an element of surprise for me. It's like watching a trailer for Midsommar, The Witch. You know, the trailer makes the film out to be one way and then it just turns out completely doing a 180 and you're just going to not believe what direction the film goes in. That's not how it was for this movie, unfortunately. The trailer, if it had maybe been done in more of a minimalistic way, then some of the reveals in the movie would have been more impactful, and they just were not. And I'm very disappointed to say that because I wanted so much to enjoy this film. There's not a lot of horror in this movie, not a lot at all, even by Midsommar standards, which now looks like a really intense horror movie when I compare it to this one. It's just kind of like a twisted family drama, twisted fairy tale, but still not fleshed out enough and maybe just not impactful enough in the end result. I want to talk about a couple of things that are a little more spoilery, so I'm going to save those till the end and I will give a warning. I don't think Lamb was a bad movie, I just didn't find it very compelling. I think that is my overall review of it. If you have not seen it yet, I recommend you do check it out. Maybe wait for it to be streaming or something. I have a movie pass, so for me it doesn't matter. I can go really see anything in the theaters and not worry about that. It was alright, it was fine, it wasn't terrible. It just didn't satisfy what I wanted out of this movie, and it didn't really play upon the elements, the horror elements that I thought they were going to play upon. So now getting into the spoiler talk, this is a warning for those of you who have not seen it to please click off this video and wait, because it's just going to ruin the movie even more for you. If you've seen the trailer, that's already going to ruin it partly, and the spoiler talk will just completely ruin it for you, so please click off of this, come back when you've watched it. This isn't really a spoiler, but I'm just going to include it in the spoiler section just to be safe. So I was pretty disappointed about how we kept getting those creepy long shots of the herd of sheep that never came to anything. They just were creepy for the sake of being creepy, and they were just ordinary sheep in the end. There was nothing odd about these sheep whatsoever besides, well, we'll get to that. But as far as the herd of sheep went, they were just ordinary sheep. There was nothing too weird about them. And Ada, she was cute. She was not scary after you got used to her. She really just was a sweet character. She seemed to have a little personality. She's very human-like, and the film is not really about her. And I think that's part of what disappointed me, was this movie was not really about Ada. It was about, you know, the family who had lost their child. We don't get a lot of backstory on that either. It wasn't very developed, and there's this drama going on between her and her husband's brother as well that we don't get too much into, but I think that was probably the most developed of all the plot lines in this story, so we get more of that than we get of anything else. Ada and her origin story didn't really have much to do with it. She was just representing the child that the family had lost, and she was acting as a filler for them. And in a way, it's very sad because she was taken away from her true parents. But in my head, I feel like she was still given a better life with the family in this story than she would have had with her true parents, because Ada is very human-like. Let's talk about the few scenes where there were moments of horror. So when Maria goes and shoots the sheep that is the mother of Ada, that is a moment of horror, but it's a moment of human horror that she would do something like that. But she is being selfish, of course, and she wants Ada to act as a replacement, as a miracle for the child that she was implied to have lost in the past. So this scene could have also represented how humanity takes from the earth what it wants, takes from nature what it wants, and then in this movie, nature comes back with a vengeance. We also get a couple of dream sequences here. I am assuming Maria had this dream where the brother takes Ada out into the field and just kills her, shoots her. So that was a nightmare sequence, and also we get a nightmare sequence of all the sheep kind of just hanging out in the barn with their eyes glowing. We get a lot of this sheep horror that never really amounts to anything. Now finally, at the very end, for the big payoff of the film, the father is shot dead by Ram Man, who is the father of Ada, the true father of Ada. Oh, I guess I just forgot about a scene. So before that, Ram Man shows up at their house, presumably takes their rifle and shoots the dog. Ada sees him. She does not warn her parents, therefore, that he has come for her. And later on, that is when he comes back, he shoots the dad, he takes Ada away back to his lair or wherever the heck he lives. We have no idea where he came from, where he lives, and that's pretty much it. Maria comes, she finds that Ada's missing and her husband has been killed. And that's pretty much it. Maria comes and finds her husband has been shot and her daughter, well, Ada, her daughter, has been taken. She is missing. And now Maria is all alone because she had sent the brother off on his way earlier. So I think I get it, you know, Maria took something that wasn't hers. She killed the mother's sheep. Now she's going to pay for it. She loses her husband and she loses her daughter that was never rightfully hers. I wanted more of Ram Man. If they were going to show him like they did, they showed him entirely, then I feel like they needed to show more of him or give more of a hint of what he was going to do with Ada, what was going to happen, where he came from, something that would add to this, because if they had just chosen not to show very much of him, just kept him in the dark a little bit, it would have been creepier. We wouldn't have known what exactly he was. They do this at the beginning when he initially comes into the barn to maybe impregnate one of the sheep, which, by the way, this is just so creepy and disgusting. But we're not going to talk about that gross aspect of the story here. So at the end, when he takes Ada away, we do get to see him completely, and I feel like the story would have benefited more either if they didn't show him very much, so we are left with this mystery and we didn't really know exactly what he looks like, or if they're just going to go full on, maybe show us a little bit more of him. I wanted more of him at the end. I wanted to know more of his story and where these half sheep, half humans came from. So this movie does get points for realism. It was well acted. There was this sense that they were actually a couple living on a sheep farm together. But the story to me was just underdeveloped. There wasn't enough continuation of certain plot points that I wanted to see. Like, what was the significance of the tractor breaking down? I don't know. The tractor breaks down, you think something might come of it later, it might mean something later, and it just does not. But most of all, Ada's story was underdeveloped. There are scenes when it seems like she has something she wants to say. Of course, she can't actually say it, but maybe she can write it or something. She understands language, it seems like, and I wanted to know more about her, and I wanted to know more about this ram man who seemed more animalistic than Ada was. She seemed to have more of her human side than her animal side. So because we are left with all of these underdeveloped stories, I can't really say that I liked this movie as much as I wanted to. So that's it for this video, you guys. If you've seen this movie, let me know if you liked it down below in the comments, and if you did like it, what aspects of it were effective for you. I'm curious to know what you thought of it, what the strong points you felt were. If you didn't like it, let me know as well what you thought. And if you are going to contain spoilers, then please include some kind of disclaimer so that you don't spoil it for anybody else. But that's it, you guys. Thanks so much for watching. I will see you in the next video. Bye!